Archimex login confirmed.
Welcome to the Lodge. You've accessed
the Lodgecast experience.
Warning, warning. Dangerous spoilers ahead. Enjoy.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Lodgecast. I'm your Lodge Master. With me as always is Brother Bieschke.
What up?
And Brother Lucas.
Hi there.
Tonight we got a fan favorite special guest, Brother Zach. Zach attack!
Three Timers Club.
Welcome. Three-peat. Tonight, sorry to bother you, but tonight's movie is Sorry to Bother You.
Did you say that because I'm Canadian? Is that why you
Now, yes.
Instinctively.
That is, I instinctively brought out the Canada there.
Well, what is this movie about?
What is this movie about? I know...
It's a Netflix movie, right?
No.
I know basically
On a
nothing about it. I saw the trailer and I turned it off halfway through because I thought it looked annoying.
I think I don't know anything about this movie, but I thought it was a Netflix movie where Danny Glover's like, you got to talk like white people to get him on the phone, and it cut to him like doing a little like white guy like impersonation, and Lakeith Stanfield was listening. Am I crazy?
No,
Zach,
you're correct.
Set us straight, Zach.
Well,
I see
I'm
that?
ready to set you straight.
Where did
but
I see that
how
promo?
straight do you
Because
want
I
me
only-
to set you before we watch the film?
I guess don't tell us too much.
Okay,
But
I'll just tell you a few nuggets.
Yeah.
Ever since I heard about this movie, I've been very keen to see it.
this is true.
I've known Boots Riley, the writer-director, is a member of the West Coast underground rap group, The Coup, which has been making music since the early 90s.
And until today, until Zach sent me some songs, my only exposure to the Coup was their scarily accurate album cover of the World Trade Center exploding.
That's right.
For their album that was released in September of 2001, I believe.
That's correct. And they pulled it back and put a new cover on it.
Yeah.
But they're kind of like, they were not obviously as famous as like a Public Enemy, but his music's always been political. It's always been anti-capitalist.
Conscious rap.
Yeah, I mean, but it's tough too. It's not like
And there's humor.
there's humor. It's kind of surreal. He plays with tropes of gangster rap culture, but it's not all sarcastic. It's not all satire. But anyway, so this movie, we'll let Brother Bieschke do the synopsis afterwards, but it is about his experience working in a call center.
Okay.
And
That's where I'm headed.
And and both of his parents growing up were in formative civil rights groups in the 60s. His father, I believe, was a founding member of the NAACP in Durham, North Carolina, when he was like 11 or 12 years old. Okay. So he's got deep roots in activism. He's a communist, I believe.
Oh, wow.
And
My late uncle was a communist.
Yeah. So he's an interesting cat. This is his first film, and Lakeith Stanfield is the lead. I'm very excited.
I just heard this movie's nuts.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. I guess...
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Because, I guess I've only seen that one little 30-second promo, and I assumed it was contemporary or offbeat. But then, someone, there's like a word of mouth, very positive, that's going around. Someone was like, oh, it's this, this, and this. And I was like, oh, wow, I did not know any of that. So I'm really curious and excited to see what's in store.
And we're seeing it at the very white Glendale Galleria,
Well,
where we saw Get Out.
White and Armenian.
Armenian, yeah.
But definitely a strange venue for this. We were going to go to North Hollywood tonight. We still will at some point. We're going to take you guys to different theaters, far-flung theaters, but tonight, due to scheduling, we are at the Americana. I'm sorry.
It'll be an interesting
It'll
audience.
be the same film.
We'll shield you from the Sinatra loops.
Yes.
In a way, it's really perfect, given what I know about the movie, that we're seeing it where we're seeing it, and Sinatra
In the center of commerce.
Some sort of subversive meta commentary.
And we've got the crooning, bow-tied lounge singer of like, when America was great before.
Old Blue Eyes.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a treat. It's a great cast, and the people that do the white voices, I won't spoil it, are also
I heard
very
about that.
enticing.
Nice.
Have you guys ever? I know, Lucas, you said you're heading there, but have you guys ever worked in a call center? Have you guys gone down that?
No,
Yeah, I did. I worked Daymark.
Shit.
It was magazine or was it magazine subscription service where
Yeah.
you trick people into signing up for the preferred buyers program.
Oh man.
And it was rough. That was my first job.
And did you have to? They told you ways to manipulate.
Yeah, and I caught on. I felt bad after a while because I was like, "This is terrible." But anyway, I got out of there pretty quick and got a job at A&W Root Beer.
Oh, that's
Yeah!
better. Yeah, that
I love
helped.
A&W root
That's
beer.
better on all fronts.
Better
Yeah.
product,
Root beer floats.
more honest.
Yes.
I worked.
Caffeine free, too.
I worked with Lodge sister Emily and Lodge brother Zamzo at the Finger Hut call center.
Oh, they were a competitor of Daymark. Yeah.
So if I would have known, across town probably, and it was bad. We sold shitty products to people who didn't have credit cards. So we'd give them our own proprietary credit card,
Ooh,
and then the shit
yeah.
would break, and they'd call me and Eric and Emily and say, "My shit broke, what can you do?" And we'd say, "Nothing."
Yeah.
Now you owe more money
Call centers.
to pay off the debt. So, yeah, Lucas, don't go there if you
No,
can.
I'm not.
If you can
just
help
convinced
it.
me not to.
If
No,
you can
well,
help
that sounds
it.
super dark.
It's gonna hurt.
Pass.
But I'm excited for this movie. I think we're all excited. We got a little string of good buzz movies that we're seeing lately. So hopefully,
And this one's living on the edge. It's not like a Prestige.
Sure.
It's like he's swinging for the fences.
it's
with
scrappy. Yeah,
Yeah,
Scorched earth.
Yeah.
I love it. We're gonna go get bothered. We're gonna go get hot and bothered, or cool and bothered in the AC, and we'll see you on the other side. We'll see what all this means. Peace.
Peace.
Sorry to bother you, but we are back.
Back in attack.
Sorry. But we're back.
Back from our shift
We are
at the call center.
outside the Americana. We saw the fountain show, the late night fountain show. Everybody was taking selfies, taking movies of a fountain.
Beautiful.
It was beautiful. We saw a weird fucking movie.
Bizarro. Bonkers.
I'm gonna put that out there.
Bananas.
I'm gonna put that out there. I saw Darren Aronofsky's mother at this theater.
Literally?
I
For real?
did.
How do you know what she looks like?
Well, no, his movie, Mother. Sorry.
Oh.
Sorry.
Don't forget that one.
Mother! Yes, sorry. I didn't have the exclamation point in my voice. But I think that was maybe the weirdest movie I'd seen here until tonight. Brother Bishki, what's the snaps?
The snaps from Rotten Tomatoes. In an alternative present-day version of Oakland, black telemarketer Cassius Green, Lakeith Stanfield, discovers a magical key to professional success, which propels him into a macabre universe of power calling that leads to material glory. But the upswing in Cassius's career raises serious red flags with his girlfriend, Detroit, Tessa Thompson, a performance artist and minimum wage striver who's secretly part of a Banksy-style activist collective. As his friends and coworkers organize in protest of corporate oppression, Cassius falls under the spell of his company's cocaine-snorting CEO, Steve Lift, Armie Hammer, who offers him a salary beyond his wildest dreams.
There it is. That's quite the snaps.
Yeah.
And Sluice, did you have a word of warning to our listeners?
Yeah, I just think if you're thinking about seeing the movie, see the movie and do pause, because there's some delightful things we'll be discussing.
There's some surprises that we're going to spoil the fuck out.
and
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they were. I am so glad they weren't spoiled for me. That's all I'm going to
if
say.
you're an official lodge member, I'm not to say anything of my bone count, but I consider this required viewing. So go check it out. That said, first impressions as this movie started unspooling. Zach, what did you feel as we were getting into this world?
Well, I will say that, he goes big from the jump. And it's like early on, within the first moments when Cassius is at the call center, you see some dudes behind him with papers just flying and Xerox flashes going, and it's like zany from the jump. He establishes the tone.
It's
pretty quickly.
a wild tone. Like anything can happen. Semi-magical realism,
Manic
stuff.
realism.
Yeah, like
And-
Terry Gilliam, Spike Jones,
but all his own at the same
early
time.
Carl Reiner. I mean, it's,
Zucker Brothers.
It's definitely heightened.
And so at times, because also it's very much a first film, but at times the budget can't you can't quite do the lifting that he's asking of it. Yet for me, the spirit is so excited to share with you that it's delightful, although at times also the pacing is herky-jerky and the things don't land the way I know he was hoping for them to,
Lucas,
timing-wise.
are you going to
But-
bestow your famous label on this?
Yeah, it's funny. I was like, man, Zach's hitting the nail on the head. I agree with everything Zach is saying, and yeah, the word I have is like, it's a student feature.
There we go.
Yeah.
Student
I
feature.
really...
Threadbare. I mean, it looks very, very inexpensive and very.
Well, I'm gonna take you to task with that very inexpensive part in a little bit, but I do agree that you know immediately that this is an independent film.
ambitious as fuck.
That it's ambitious.
very ambitious.
And you know pretty early on that its ambition is going to exceed its grasp in some departments. And it does. But like Zach said, like, it's charmingly so most of the time. So, plot-wise, I mean...
Should we go through it a little bit? Or?
Yeah, the movie's more about details and about kind of goofy asides.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like, the synopsis was pretty comprehensive. So, he's living in a garage.
It's contemporary Oakland.
He's living in a garage.
Terry Crews is his uncle.
Yeah.
He's got a girlfriend,
Tessa Thompson,
who's kind of long-suffering, who's putting up with his lifestyle.
She's an artist, and he's unemployed.
So he goes to this call center,
And the uncle needs money here's the Ice Cube plot.
Sure. His uncle needs money in 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah.
So he goes to this job. They hire him on the spot, and he's struggling a little bit. They have this motif where instead of just calling people, his desk drops into their living space, so it shows how invasive that these calls really are. Yeah. Which, I mean, I guess is cool. Like, it's
a unique way to do it.
It's a silly contrivance, but it's better than probably the alternative, which is just hearing it.
Yeah.
So,
but then we get a great cameo by Danny Glover.
Yep.
Who teaches him how to talk in the white voice, which is converted into the voice of David Cross.
Yeah, very clearly David Cross.
And
what did everybody think of that? Because that's kind of a big moment where he starts talking in David Cross's voice. Like, it's a jump. Like, they've been peppering in little weird things here and there, but that's the big weird fork in the road.
I wonder how it would have played if I had never seen a trailer of the movie. It would have shocked me a little more.
Yeah, it would have landed harder. It would have been a bigger laugh, for sure. But that was the trailer, the teaser I saw as well. So I was like...
So your condition, that surprise is kind of gone.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know how you promote this movie without that,
Sure.
but the initial shock was gone from the promos.
I like it on paper. I think it's great to say, like, it sounds really funny. But I think part of the issue is we've seen drunk history so much now. The bar's been raised for this kind of thing. It's not really new. The black man putting on a white voice is new and interesting. But I think Lakeith didn't. He kind of has a mumbling acting style, and he didn't differentiate when he was doing the white voice, so we couldn't really see the mouth moving as much. Which
I agree. I mean, his co-star, the guy who played Detroit, his lip syncing was perfect.
Detroit's Tessa Thompson. You mean the guy whose name we
Oh,
never
I'm sorry.
learned.
I'm sorry.
The power caller.
The power caller, right. He had Patton Oswalt's voice, but he was nailing it. Like, it actually sounded like he
the
was...
ADR sunk up.
Yeah, like he must have been listening to it and like rehearsing it in a mirror. And you're right. I think Lakeith was just doing his thing, and it didn't work as well. I
think it would have been funnier if he would have put on a different mouth character.
He did at times when when Lakeith became the power caller too. I thought
anytime he's
He
giggling,
earned the David Cross voice.
Anytime he's giggling or
it was
being
hilarious.
like overly like silly white, like oh golly gee, like that's always funny. But anyway,
when he basically just gave in to the money and the insanity of it, I thought the voice melded better with it.
So anyway, he excels in this company, and there's this golden elevator that takes you to the next floor if you get a promotion to this power caller position.
Which may or not be real.
In the drinking game, every time they say the word power caller, you got to take a sip or a
There's
shot.
a lot of
Take a
power
drink.
caller talk. But he's got friends at the call center that want to unionize.
Stephen Yeun is
from Walking Dead. Yeah. He's the main organizer, and that kind of reminded me of working night shifts at Walmart. When we first started working there, they showed us a video, and it was like a horrifying caricature of a union rep. And they're like, if you see somebody trying to unionize, they had a guy in like a trench coat, like accosting a worker. They're like, stop and get one of your managers immediately.
Wow.
And they showed him kicking him out.
Video.
It was great.
Wow.
But so there's a lot of corporate kind of videos like that in this movie, and that vibe kind of reminded me of that. So anyway, his bosses try to tantalize him by giving him this power collar upgrade, so he finally gets to go upstairs.
And he breaks the strike line to go up to it.
Yeah, and he meets this guy who has the Patton Oswalt voice. And shit, up until this point, I'm kind of like, I don't know. The movie feels it's
aimless, meandering. It's tough. Like Zach said, the pacing is herky-jerky. It's like, I think for directors, like the hardest thing besides casting and like building this world or whatever world aesthetic it is fucking pacing. Like nobody knows how to like make a movie.
Well, the thing is,
just
the movie's got so many ideas, and it is a first.
So many.
Yeah.
It is a
And
first-time
they're
director.
exciting ideas. I'd
Yes,
say
they're big
also.
ideas. They're important ideas.
You could strip out half to 3/4 of the ideas of this movie and then take whatever's left and expand and go deeper,
Yeah.
and it would still be plenty for a movie.
There's a TV show that everyone in America watches where people get the shit beaten out of them that's like really dark.
Yeah, kind of like Idiocracy.
And
Yeah.
in the background, there's always these advertisements for
Worry-free.
It's like a
Foxconn.
a live. Yeah, it's like a Foxconn, like live and work environment where people just are slaves,
Indentured servants.
So
There's a touch of like Jodorowsky to some of those
Sure.
visuals and to the call center and to the protests.
Reminded me of Paul Verhoeven's RoboCop a little bit too, with that kind of over extreme capitalist shit.
yeah, but so we find out that these power callers are hooking up companies with this indentured servitude labor to save them tons of money. So he's basically our hero is selling his soul to
making mega deals.
making mega deals.
Not
and
only
making
human
mega
trafficking,
bucks.
but gun running. They would sell arms as well.
All sorts of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I thought coming at it from the beginning, it was clear the filmmaker, Boots Riley, had a good perspective of what it's like to be poor. Mm-hmm. But then when he had an idea of what the rich are like, it was kind of like what the poor people perceive the rich to be. I mean, it was
very broad.
It was very broad.
Well, one of my issues with the film was after he gives his uncle the check to save the house from foreclosure, why doesn't he just bounce out? He doesn't strike
That's
me
how
as the kind of-
capitalism
He's too
works,
seduced.
brother. That you get a little taste.
But he's not seduced if he's like living in a garage and like he seems happy in the garage in his car. Like,
He was happy. He didn't know he was happy because he thought he had to get more and more and more.
Is this your first time to the dance, Lucas?
Wasn't enough for me. That never set well with me because after he gave his uncle the check, it's like, all right, problem solved. You don't have to do this no more.
Okay, I think I missed a lot in my 5-minute bathroom trip.
Okay, we're gonna
You
talk.
did.
We're gonna
We're
talk
not
about
there
this
yet,
bathroom
yeah.
trip. We can talk about it right fucking now because this movie, much like a pyramid scheme, there's a multi-tiered salad dragon structure to this.
The whole
movie.
movie's a salad dragon.
I wouldn't say the whole movie. I would say the movie's batshit, but true salad dragonry comes in the form of both a perfunctory one because it's so insanely specific. This is the scene that you left for, by the way.
Yeah.
Our hero's girlfriend, Detroit, is a performance artist, and she's putting on a show. and they're kind of on the outs, but she's like, you got to come see it. And they're built. She has her own white voice too, which is like a British woman,
Lily Collins,
to sell her pieces
that she uses to sell her art. But anyway, there's all this tension leading up to her big performance, and she's like, I hope you stay, I hope you stay. So, of course, Bishki leaves, and then shit gets real. We should always just watch you, Bishki, because whenever you leave,
something happens.
That's when shit goes down.
Iced tea. And the fact that the lobby bathroom is so far away, it took me a while. But what happened?
Okay, so she gets up on stage in like a trench coat, and she says something to the effect of, there are these chemical compounds that are only found in Africa that they use to make cell phones, and they exploit Africa to make this stuff. So she has cell phones and bullet shells and balloons full of sheep's blood that the audience is encouraged to pick up and throw at her while she reads a monologue from The Last Dragon. So The Last Dragon...
The Last Dragon the movie.
The Last Dragon the movie.
Okay.
So The Last Dragon being...
Barry Gordy's.
Being
Dragon.
an official Lodge movie, and having that be so specific, we'd be remiss not to include it in the canon of
The Last Salad Dragon.
Yeah.
Yes.
And just for the record, I have the original Last Dragon one sheet framed in a golden frame in my kitchen as a centerpiece.
So it hit extra hard, and that's exactly what happens. She reads a little.
It's funny and disturbing all at once.
It's great. It's great.
You know what, Eddie? You're just a midget asshole with dreams of taking over to the world. Yeah, also from Kew Gardens, getting by on my tits.
And
that's exactly right.
And right before also this scene, I think you missed Bishki. He's invited to Steve Lift's party.
What about the can of Coke? I missed that too.
He gets hit in the head.
He breaks the strike line.
When he breaks the strike line.
Crossing the spike
And
line.
he gets
throws a can of Coke in
videotaped
his
and it
head.
goes viral. That's what I assume, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And he
Okay.
becomes a punchline.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And then he has a bloody bandage around his head for the rest of the movie.
That's why
But he gets
that's
invited
fair.
to
Okay,
Steve
got it.
Lift's party. This
I
could
figured
be
that
a
out.
big opportunity for him. But he has to go to his ex-girlfriend's show, so that's what he goes to first.
So the
Salad
head-
Dragon scene.
The head of this indentured servitude cult is Armie Hammer.
More like Smarmy Hammer.
Smarmy Hammer. His name is Steve Lift, which is a great name.
It's very funny.
And I'm
His
going
role.
to say, again, I'm not betraying my bone count yet for the rest of the movie, but the party that he is invited to, that section of the movie is like 6 bones for me.
It's
Yeah.
beyond. It's. I haven't laughed or like lost control. I didn't just laugh. I lost control.
It is
in this
essential
scene.
viewing
Yeah.
for anybody within the sound of my voice. That section specifically of the movie. You don't even really need to know what goes on in the rest of the movie to enjoy this section.
Yeah.
So he goes to this mansion. Armie Hammer is introduced with just snorting the longest line of cocaine that you've ever
Yeah.
seen in film history. At least we think it's cocaine. And
I knew Armie would be good after seeing.
He's bananas.
What's the
Call
last
Me By Your Name.
Call Me by Your Name. I knew he's a
great.
good asshole. Like I knew he could play a great asshole.
He's great. Lakeith and his boss, who has the Patton Oswalt voice, they show up together at this party.
Only you can use your white voices. at the
Only
party.
use your white voices. And there's just all these hangers-on around Armie, and he has Lakeith sit in front of him and all of his party guests, and
Which are almost predominantly women, white women.
white women.
Yeah.
And he basically is like, I know you can rap, right? Like,
Well, first he's like, entertain us with stories from the ghetto,
right.
basically.
And he doesn't have any. He's like, I know you can rap, right? And he's like, no, I can't. It's actually really embarrassing. Like, I can't rap. And then they all are just like, rap.
Yeah. Big chant.
And so then he proceeds to kind of stumble into an amazing rap that gets everybody together. I'm not going to repeat.
It just gets the entire audience chanting the N-word over and over.
Yeah.
It's honestly
And Armie it's the look on Armie Hammer's face while he
Oh
watches
yeah. 'Cause
everybody.
Armie Hammer's not chanting. He's just
Bedlam.
smiling. Yeah.
Bedlam.
Everybody's N-word chanting all over the place, and he's just looking around kind of like Mr. Miyagi, like,
Yeah.
this is good.
And just there's 2 things to note before we move on from this scene, because I love this scene. is one, the writer-director has made a career as a recording artist, as a
Yes.
rapper, playing for white audiences that are rapping along with his
Yep.
lyrics.
Yep.
You cannot exclude that from
It's
the
delicious.
scene you just
Yeah,
watched.
it's delicious.
And the second thing is Lakeith Stanfield is also a rapper. He is an actor first, but he
Right.
also makes music, and
so it's a joke.
so the fact is, he's very talented. He even raps on the soundtrack. So, but that scene was delicious, and it was only
And
an
I
appetizer.
don't know if you know his girlfriend's artwork was also in Armie Hammer's house.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I noticed that.
That's good.
It's one shot, but it's like that.
The billboard, right?
The billboard, yeah. He puts it up in his house. Like,
That's cool.
Yeah.
So after that, Lakeith is kind of drained from his experience, and everybody in the house is just having
It's a bacchanal.
an eyes wide shut orgy.
Yeah.
And his buddy comes and is like, "Listen, Mr. Lift wants to see you now. He's down the hall to the right, and then down the hall, and then to the left, and he's behind the magenta door." So I'm like, holy shit, like what, where is this movie going at this point? There's no way I could have known. There's no way anybody could know.
No way.
Again,
No
pause
way. Oh,
the fuck now.
Pause
if,
now.
If you're going to see this movie.
This is some M. Night Shyamalan twist.
This is Shyamalan to the nth degree. Like
This is Spike Jonesian, Kaufmanian.
It's
Yeah.
off the
Shyamalan.
scale,
This
off
is-
the charts.
this is Boots
Off
Riley
the
and
wall.
It
evidently.
really is Boots Riley, and it
So
give the man
he
his
goes
credit
into
here.
the magenta door, and Armie Hammer's sitting there. He offers him a line, and he's like, "You know what? At this point, fuck it." He snorts this whole big line off this plate with a horse on it,
Mr. Bobo.
Mr. Bobo, and he's like, "Listen, I want you to come work for me at this. What is it called? Live well,
Worry Free.
Worry free.
Yeah.
I want you to come work for me at Worry Free." And but first, I want you to watch this video, and then I'm gonna make you an offer. And he's like, "I gotta go pee, man. Like, I can't watch that right now." So he tells him where to go. He's like, "You go to the bathroom. It's down the hall behind the jade door." So he goes down the hall, and there's a couple greenish doors.
Yeah,
So
olive, forest.
He picks one of them, and it's this kind of David Fincherian.
It felt like he was going into a
Like,
gas chamber.
I thought it was a shower, a gas
Yeah.
shower for like Holocaust.
Yeah,
I thought it was
something.
Holocaust reminiscent.
Yeah,
It
same.
was, it was fucked up. But there's one stall that's closed, and you see that somebody's in it. And again, this might be one of the greatest moments in cinema history for me. But there's somebody in there, and he's like, "Yo, man, are you coming or going?" And he's like, "I need help. I need help." And so he's like, "Okay, well, I can't help you." And he's like, "I need help." So then, out of nowhere, bursting out of the cell door and onto the floor, is a human-horse hybrid with a giant dick.
An equestrian sapien or
Equisapien.
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 And he's just writhing around the ground. It looks like practical makeup effects. Like, it looks real.
Like if
It's
BoJack Horseman
kind of
was an
amazing
actual
looking.
guy. Yeah.
It
Pretty
is-
they spent budget on this.
That's
shit.
where all the
whole
money
budget.
went. That's where all the
and
money
that's
went.
when you, as
So
a
those
as a
horse cocks.
filmmaker, when you know, I was thinking like, man, he
Oh
put the
my
money
God.
in the right fucking
Yes,
place.
right.
God
Bullseye.
damn.
right between the eyes.
And then there's two more. And there's
Several more. They're coming out of the stalls.
Suddenly it makes a left turn into the island of Dr. Monroeville.
Yeah, it is amazing. So he runs the fuck out of there, as anyone would. And
And they're like, help us. And he's like, holy shit. And he bounces. Because he's also like, he's just in a huge line of coke also.
Yeah, and he runs out, slams right smack dab into Smarmy Hammer's villainous gloating
With a gun.
CEO,
He's got a gun now.
holding a silver, pearl-handled pistol automatic, and is like, "We gotta talk."
so we won't go through point by point the rest of the movie.
Let's just
but
to say that it keeps getting funnier and more outlandish.
It keeps getting crazier.
There's animation.
The Equisapiens
Claymation.
keep showing up. There's claymation Equisapiens that
A master plan is
Like the
revealed.
California Raisins kind of claymation.
It's amazing. Everything about that sequence is incredible. It to me, like, nothing can ever top that before or after. So we kind of get out of that section, and then it's kind of his mad dash to find his
Things come to a head.
Things come to a head. He's got to find his morals again and save the day by doing what's right and exposing the Equisapien.
Yeah, they do get into a union clash.
Yeah.
Shares the video.
The Equisapiens beat down the cops.
It's pretty uneven. I mean, we're making it sound like this is an action-packed thrill ride. I mean, but honestly, no joke. The first act was like an hour long. Like, I was waiting for some shit to happen, and when finally some shit started to happen, it was like, well, there's like only 30 minutes of the movie left. You know, I was kind of like, I kind of wish the horse people showed up a hell of a lot sooner.
Yeah, and yet, I mean, once the Equisapiens appear, you got. I don't know how much you're on borrowed time at that point.
Yes, I felt like it went on too long after the high of that party sequence. Like, I know you need to see him slowly turn around and do what's right, but I was buzzing so hard on that.
I was gasping for fucking air.
Yeah.
I was holding on. I was clawing the chair for my life. I have not been so deliriously delighted with an insanely unexpected scene in a movie like that. In maybe not since I saw Being John Malkovich with zero preparation.
Oh, that's nice.
In the movie theater when I was in college. I think I can compare it to that. That 25 minutes of that.
Yeah,
sequence.
you know what's interesting is I thought of Being John Malkovich as well. Like, that kind of popped into my mind when he was, especially in the first half, when he's working in the call center, because it definitely had this Merton Flemmer building vibe.
Yes.
Bishke, what are you feeling during all this?
I was in this movie because it's politically oriented, so I'm always beneath all the weirdness. I'm trying to follow the political through line of the politics, which are definitely leftist.
Very.
And so, but I'm just in terms of how complex it becomes. It was pretty, like any Michael Moore film, pretty conventional for me in terms of how the politics played out.
Sure.
He rises up the corporate ladder, and then he goes back to the union workers and says, we got to deal with this, act local, think global. Is that what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. The revolution will not be televised because he tries to go on TV and he doesn't do that. But the weirdness was on such a level that it didn't bother me too much that it was kind of simplistic, I thought, politically.
You wanted the politics to hit you at different angles, new angles.
Yeah, because I wasn't throwing curveballs with the politics stuff of it. Like, I thought it was pretty.
But there were enough curveballs slapping you in the face in other
exactly
areas.
Exactly, that it kept me entertained.
I thought was something very poignant. I agree. It was very it was the classic fable, rise and fall, and the guy loses his way. But it was it was as you expect if you know about Boots Riley. It's like a lot of communism, workers' rights, unionism. Yeah, you're right. It's not. It's kind of just the surface level of those themes. But I thought what spoke to this moment very well was after we see that insane Equisapien sequence, and he tries to tell the world, and he's kind of like, call your senators, call your congresspeople, and Lakeith Stanfield's like exasperated because no one really does it. Like, they're making more money than ever.
Steve Lift gets publicity for his horse people, and he's on top of the world.
And so Lakeith Stanfield meets his old buddies and tries to make up with them and plot what their next move is. And Stephen Yeun says to him something like, what is the line? It's like, if you get used to something is so crazy, but if you get used to it, it ceases to become upsetting anymore.
Something like that.
It was a really well phrased, succinct line that spoke entirely to the weekly insanity and outrage it is to live under Donald Trump as the president of the United States.
You talking about Donald J. Trump?
Donald J. Trump.
Yeah, no, it did capture the weirdness that I say Mother had that kind of weirdness too when it went off the charts.
Zach, do you know about that movie yet?
Mother?
Have not seen it.
Oh, okay, yeah. That movie goes off the charts and feels of its time in the Trump era.
There's a line that I just remembered that we must shine a light on it because it might be I don't even know how to categorize it, but I lost my shit when I heard it. It's Danny Glover's at the bar and he's talking about the power collars. And he says, you know, the shit that we sell ain't like the shit that they sell. And Lakeith is like, so that you're basically saying it would be like comparing apples to oranges? And Danny Glover, perfect deadpan, is like, no, it's like comparing apples to the Holocaust.
I lost it at that line. That was one of my favorite lines in the whole movie.
Oh my
It was
God.
incredible.
Yeah.
And to have Danny Glover's, like,
Danny Glover was in rare form.
Danny
Yeah.
Glover's got
Oh, he's
like
so
10
good.
more great movies
So
in him.
good.
If someone could just give him the part.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
holy
No, he was
shit.
hilarious.
There was
and
a little,
dark,
there was,
dark
a, there
and
was a little
hilarious.
wink back to Lethal Weapon when he like asked him a question and he was like, "Get out there and dance. Why aren't you dancing?" And he's like, "I'm too old for this shit."
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Danny Glover.
He was funny, man.
Team Glover all the way.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Bring him
he's great.
the good shit.
He's great.
And another small little footnote: Glover is buddies with Boots Riley's father from way back.
Oh,
in the
there you
day.
go.
Oh,
And
okay.
so he's known Glover his entire life growing
Yeah,
up.
because I'm
Oh, yeah.
wondering, how do you get Glover out to do a
Well, Forrest
role?
Whitaker was a producer on the movie and also
Yes.
a voice of the head Equo Sapien.
I didn't
Oh, he
know
was?
that. I
Oh,
didn't know
okay.
that.
I didn't know that.
That's a
That's
good little bit
great.
of trivia.
Yeah.
That's great. All right. Well, let's get to the bones.
Yep.
You can add any more personal touches that you need to while you deliver your bones. I'm gonna start with Lodge's resident hothead, Brother Lucas.
Yeah, you know, I definitely enjoyed the film, but it did lag for me throughout. Like, it was, I mean, the very first act was a drag. Like, I was really waiting for it to kind of, like, kick in, you know, like, get to the elevator, go upstairs already. And after a while, they kept talking about the power crawlers, and I was kind of sick of it. I was like, all right, we got it. Like, fucking get there. Get to the fireworks factory already. And then by the time we did get to the fireworks factory, and I was, like, on the edge of my seat, like, yeah, kind of like lost that momentum with its, like, you know, multiple montages and like endings and you know, it kind of like ended, you know, like the movie ends and then there's like, you know, a film by Boots Riley, sorry to bother you, and then it's like the post credit scene where we left out the biggest part at the end of the movie when Lakeith Stanfield finally comes to his senses and moves back into his uncle's garage and kisses and makes up with his girlfriend. As he's closing his garage door, he like hits his nose on a shelf, and we think, oh, he just hit his nose on a shelf. But when he turns around, he is morphing into an Equo Sapien.
He's got a horse nose.
Because he did snort this like powder that he thought was cocaine, which clearly wasn't. I think we're forgetting, like, yeah, the part where Armie Hammer was trying to convince him to turn into a horse to go work
To
at
become
the factory.
the
Yeah.
MLK of the horse
Yeah,
world.
that was crazy.
It's
But
an
anyway,
important point.
but anyway,
I clapped during that.
Yeah.
I give it 2.5 bones because it is pretty rough around the edges and it's kind of bursting at the seams with ideas, but at the same time it's uneven and lopsided and it's just like, it's tough. It's kind of a tough watch, and I don't think that movie would be for everyone. So I give it 2.5.
Crossfire, Brother Sluice.
Yeah, I mean, everything LT is saying is not untrue. And I'd even, just to his point about the beat at the end with Lakeith turning into a horse, it's like, it doesn't quite hit, because I don't know if it's the way he filmed it.
No, it
like,
doesn't hit at all.
It doesn't hit.
No,
and
it
I
doesn't.
feel like it's not because there's not a way to make it hit or
I
to
think
make
they
you
went
feel
back to
surprised.
the horse well one too many times.
Yeah.
It might have been that. I mean, but there are just moments throughout where I don't know if he didn't use coverage and editing in a way to punch something and to hit his punchlines in a way that it was just like the rhythm. It was interesting for a musician because I felt like the rhythm of things was a little off. Mm-hmm. And so I agree, it was bursting at the seams. It was hot and cold the whole damn time. And yet, I'm so happy to see a movie where someone is just unabashedly doing something different, doing something not just for the sake of being different, but doing something with a real idea of ideas they're exploring.
It felt kind of like a 90s indie, like,
absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Like
Yeah.
Wrist Cutter's a love story.
Yeah, but so much better than Wrist Cutters.
No, I know,
mean,
but I
like-
just mean like, yeah, it's a first film, it's threadbare.
Yeah.
It's
What are your
kinda
bones, boy?
Shaggy.
Yeah, well, so Bones are tough because
They're always tough.
I guess
They're full of marrow.
I'm gonna give it 3.
Okay.
And it's not nearly as polished or as masterful as like a 3-bone film would be. And this movie, if this was like his 4th film, and he was progressing up to this film, and it
is ambitious.
And he had like
sure.
$15 or $20 million instead of probably like $3 million to make this movie. He could have knocked this out of the park, and it might have been a 4-bone classic.
Right.
It truly. The guy is incredibly creative and talented. It's
going to be interesting to see where he goes.
I would love to see his next film.
For sure.
This was, for me, I forgive all of its flaws because this guy is unique, he's exciting, deadly funny, so strange, and unabashedly himself. So it was a very enjoyable and rough around the edges 3 bones.
3 bones.
Yeah.
Professor Bishki.
The movie definitely tops Spike Lee's Chirac, which is a bizarre, very bizarre film that I saw of Spike Lee's a few years back. But it has that kind of level of weirdness to it. I thought, like as I mentioned, the politics and the overall arc of the film were pretty predictable, but the weirdness was just so consistent that I enjoyed it. Recommend seeing it. Again, the bones are tough, but let me give it 2.5.
Oh,
okay.
There it is. You've been a tough judge lately.
I'm a tough cookie.
I like it.
You're a sweet cookie.
You're very sweet as well. I'm gonna say I fluctuated so wildly throughout this movie. I was pinging at 4 a couple times. I was pinging at 6. I think overall I'd say it's a 2.5 bone movie. But because of that 6-bone sequence, holy shit!
Didn't you want to see the Echo Sapiens like rape Armie Hammer? Like, I mean, they would have been. I would have given it 3.5 if like because Armie Hammer, like a selling point to Lakeith Stanfield was like, and you get to have a big horse cock. And I'm thinking, like, God, he's got to get his comeuppance. Like, he's got to get his comeuppance.
Well, they were about to give his comeuppance, and they already made a sculpture, protest sculpture where he's where he's fucking a horse.
I know, but they should have ended on that image. I think that would have been great.
Mom, I hope you're listening to this episode.
Wow.
But anyway, I'm going to average it out at 3 bones. I think that's the correct and just.
That's probably
rating,
right. That's probably right.
Because the ambition is huge. If the ambition is outsized and the movie makes me happy on a huge level more than once, I gotta give it 3. I gotta give it 3.
It deserves it.
It's
it
an
really
encouragement.
Does. The most ambitious film of the year.
It's an encouragement. 3 bones. Like
yeah.
I'm
glad to see, I'm looking forward to see where he goes.
I'm gonna dole out 3. Give me 3.5, 4 next time. I believe in you. So
pair the man with a really seasoned producer who's going to steer the ship tighter and force him to find his way in a little more constrained boxes, that knows what the budget is actually going to deliver for him on his ambition next time.
It's going to be great.
And bring back Danny Glover.
Bring back. I want Glover in the lead of his next film.
Glover number 1. Glover number 1.
Yeah.
Above the title.
Yeah.
Come on, bring him back.
Yeah.
He's great. We got bothered. That was beautiful.
Hot and bothered.
I had a great time with you guys at the Americana. Good wholesome time.
What do you think the audience thought? Just out of
mix.
I heard
Mix.
someone walk out saying they
very-
hated it.
it was
I heard someone coming out. Yeah,
You're gonna love it or hate it.
There was
Yeah.
one guy that was definitely laughing it throughout. But
Oh,
then
there was
a
a super fan in the theater. He
Yeah.
laughed louder than all of us.
There was a
at
guy
everything.
that-
Then there were people looking at him.
There
like,
was a De Niro Cape Fear gentleman.
I ran into 2 people that I knew on the elevator, and turns out they were in the screening, and I couldn't even tell if they loved it or not.
they'd
I
been
think they were in
through it.
shock. They said it was so intense.
They'd been
I
through
was
it.
like, intense.
They're like, my wife's never seen a horse cock that big before.
She's seen a great many, but none that big. But I need to also give a shout out to a young concession man who helped me get some popcorn. We had just smoked. I went in there. I wasn't planning on getting popcorn. I smelled it. It was ambrosia from the gods. I was like, that smells great. Let me get a small popcorn. He filled it up, and right after he filled it up, the corn runneth over, and there was fresh popcorn. So I took a little bite, and it was chewy and stale and gross. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck this. I went back there, and I'm like, hey, man, is there any way you could hook me up with some of that fresh stuff? And there was another woman that was working there that looked and was like, this is very bad. What's going to happen? And he took my popcorn. He's like, oh, you want me to, And we had this kind of standoff. And he just dumped it back in on the side and filled it with some of that fresh. And
It was great.
Lucas can attest. That
was the best. It was the best popcorn I've had in like over 20 years or 10 years. Like the best in the entire city. Like I've never better than ArcLight's premium corn.
So if there's a moral to this story, if you see an injustice and you want justice, get justice.
Easy justice.
I think Boots Riley would co-sign.
Oh,
Yeah.
he would be so proud of.
On the ground level, let's unite, folks.
Yeah, we need to unite.
Power to the people.
Hang it up.
Love and
Power
light.
to the popcorn.
Love and light.
Upper management, we are hanging up. Phones down.
Phones down.
Getting by on my tits.